If I had to restart my entire financial life in 2026 with $0, no savings, no investments, nothing, I wouldn't panic. I would follow the same specific plan that got me from having $43,000 of debt to a net worth of multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if you actually executed this for 12 months, you wouldn't recognize your finances a year from now. It would be a crazy transformation. Here's the 10-step plan I'd follow if I had to start over from zero. So the first thing I would think through is like, okay, I need to reframe the idea of zero. If you're starting from zero, it's not a disadvantage. It's actually leverage because you literally have nothing to lose. You're at zero, right? So if I was going through this, be like, man, I should be taking a little more risk here because I'm literally at zero. What's the worst that can happen, right? It means you can move much faster. You can make more, mistakes. You can learn from them. You can grow from them. You can keep doing it over and over. And the real issue isn't that you're broke. It's that you don't have a plan. And this was me back, 10 years ago, guys. So I'm really talking through myself as well. So instead of feeling behind, I'm thinking, well, good. Now I can actually build this the right way, right? Starting with the foundation and moving up from there. Number two, getting clear on the numbers. So the next thing I would do is I would need some clarity. It's like, okay, I'm assuming at this point I have a job and I spend money to buy stuff, right? So the things that I would really look at, even if I'm starting at zero, it's what's my income, what's my spending, what do I own? So like what assets do I own and what do I owe? So what are some like liabilities, like debt, for example, right? And there's really two simple equations that I would like to think through. So income minus the expenses is the gap or the surplus that I have in order to increase my assets or reduce my liabilities, right? And assets minus liabilities equals your net worth. And most people avoid this step because it feels so simple or it feels so irrelevant or it feels so small, or maybe you're just uncomfortable looking at the numbers. But this is why too many people are stuck because, we have to take the first step here. And this is what I do when I'm coaching a bunch of people. Everyone's always so anxious to look, like so anxious, even though they probably know what they're going to see because they lived it, right? So what I do is I have them go through a 3-month look back. They look at how did you spend money the last 3 months? And it's so uncomfortable for them. But then when we jump on the next call, they're like, oh my God, why have I not done this sooner? It's like I could have solved this problem months or years ago. It's very powerful. Number 3, we have to focus on the gap, the surplus. So everything comes down to one thing, which is the gap. So let's say you make $100,000 a year, but you spend $100,000 a year. You have zero gap, right? But if you make $100,000 a year and you spend $90,000 a year, there's a $10,000 gap there for you. And that gap is what builds wealth. So my entire focus would become, how do I increase this gap as fast as possible? And there's a couple ways you could do it. You could reduce expenses or increase income. Both work. The expenses are faster and easier. The income is, probably more longer term. You can do some quick, short stuff, right, in the time that you have. But number 4, let's move on to the next one. Fixing my inputs. Now, I want to clean up what's influencing me personally. So I'm going to stop taking advice from people that are broke. So if I am talking to someone and they have not achieved the outcome that I am looking for, I guess your words are just kind of your opinion, and I'm not going to take them as fact, right? And I'm going to stop consuming content that makes me spend money. Yes, I'm talking to you, TikTok shoppers, right? I'm going to start feeding my brain with better inputs. Maybe this means more sophisticated podcasts or books or something that is actually quite educational and is actually helping me take an action to the next step. Not just a whole bunch of stuff that, people say stuff and there's no action necessarily being associated with it. Like, no, what are these specific actions? And these are the things that I focus on in my personal finance community. And I really like to think through this concept of the one source rule. So first, whenever I am trying to learn something or improve something, probably just like you guys, right? I go on YouTube and I just watch a bunch of videos, I consume it, and then I really narrow it down to a couple people who I'm like, okay, who do I think can help me the most here? Who has the most proof that they've done the thing? Who, I don't know, knows what they're talking about, or I kind of jive with, or maybe they would understand my situation. Like for me, for example, I'm a dad of two kids. I'm married, so maybe I would be watching someone that also is in that same context. It's like, oh, they understand me, right? And then eventually I would boil it down to the one source rule where I'm just focusing on one person who has one idea to take me from point A to point B. Because at the end of the day, there's so many distractions that if we're trying to follow this guy's advice and that girl's advice and this girl's advice and that guy's advice all at the same time, they're probably all saying different things. And now we're bouncing to 4 different things and we're actually going to be making no progress at all. Because your results are just a reflection on what you're constantly taking in. And I like to say garbage in, garbage out. Number 5, I would love to do a 6-week financial sprint. So this is like a hustle period, a quick win. So stuff like we're just like kind of cutting down to the extreme, no eating out, no subscriptions, no unnecessary spending, just the basics. And the goal is to stack at least $1,000, right? But hopefully way more, and just go on the sprint and really just focus, say no to a bunch of stuff, your friends, your family, no paid events, all this stuff, because it does 3 things here. It's going to build momentum in your personal finances, obviously. It's going to help reset your spending habits, because I found personally, and let me know what you guys think about this, but if I stop doing something for a long enough period of time, I don't miss it. Like I used to watch a bunch of sports and do fantasy football or whatever, but I just like didn't do it one year, and now I don't miss it at all. It's pretty funny how that works. And then the third thing here, proved to myself that I can actually take control of my money. Because sometimes we just don't believe that we can do it. Like, oh, we are the special snowflake, that we have all these challenges. And again, I'm talking to myself here too. Like I would think back to my early days, and I just had all these excuses as why I wasn't winning in life. And really, it's just like, well, looking back, it's like, Chris, you weren't good enough. You weren't good enough, right? And that can be tough. That can be really tough. But if something like a 6-week challenge sounds like it could be interesting to you, I'm opening up some spots for my 6-week 1K money challenge. And it's where your only goal is going to be stack as much money as humanly possible in that period, so that you can use it to put towards, asset creation, asset generation, or, reducing your liabilities, getting rid of your debt. Getting out of debt sooner is way, way better. There's more information below this video, linked in a video if you're interested in the 6-week challenge. But number 6, I would be obsessing over increasing my income. Because like I mentioned before, cutting expenses is really like kind of a quick win, but really at the end of the day, the highest leverage thing that we can do is increase our income. Too many people focus on cutting, and I get it, right? There's a lot of content around there about just like budget hard, do all this stuff, like, right? It's, I don't know who says that, but you know what I'm talking about. Because cutting is the quick and easy step, right? The budgeting. But increasing the income is the long-term answer, the middle-term answer, right? So for the next 90 days, I'd be focusing on making more money. So I'd be asking myself, what skills do I have? Maybe even writing a list. I'd probably write a list of all the skills that I have. Can I monetize those skills? Like, what could I sell? How can I help other people? How valuable can I become? And what do people actually pay for, right? So in this list that I'm writing, do any skills that I have, could people pay for them? And even if they're not skills that I have, it's just like, could I mow lawns? Could I, drive around Uber Eats? Could I just like hustle for these 90 days to stack, again, as much money as humanly possible? Because that's kind of the goal here. Because something as small as an extra $500, $1,000 a month is significant when we're talking about either A, paying off debt, because everyone loves compounding. And guess what? There's compounding in debt too. So if we can get rid of the higher interest debt, that's amazing. Or assets. If we stack $500 a month towards some basic generic index fund or something like that, and it's going to grow our wealth, over time, that's going to be very significant, because we don't build wealth by saving the scraps, the $7 here, the $13 there. We build it honestly by increasing the income. And that is personally, if I were to look back, that's really where the growth happened in my personal finance journey. Number 7, and I see this one gets confused all the time, but prioritizing stuff in the right order. So now I would need to think about having a structure on my path of starting over, right, in 2026. So here's the order that I would do. I would build up that small emergency fund. That's where that powerful 6-week thing would come in, the $1,000 plus, right? I would be scraping everything that I could to build up that emergency fund. I would use any surplus or that gap to pay off any high interest debt that I had, any debt that I had really. And if I had a job where I was, able to get a 401k, I'd be doing an employer match because that's essentially free money. And that just 401k is something that gets taken out of your paycheck before you get it anyway. So you're kind of like you're paying yourself first, which is pretty helpful. And then I'd build a real emergency fund so that I can be a little more aggressive, because the thing that happens that I see all the time, especially if people that have lower emergency funds or no emergency funds, one thing that costs $700 or $1,200, whatever the thing is, it puts people out for a while. Like there's a stat, I think this was a couple years ago now, so I don't know the updated number, but 52% of people that did that survey didn't have $1,000 if an emergency came up, and they'd have to go into debt for $1,000. So that basically means that half the country doesn't have $1,000 in their bank account. So if you already do that, you're already like above average. So that's why it's like, that's crazy that in a 6-week program, you could be above average in the United States in 6 weeks, right? It's crazy. A lot of people, I think, just do this backwards. They try to grow money without any sort of foundation, but so instead of building your foundation on like straw and leaves and stuff like that, we want to use cement, right? So that's what this whole prioritizing in order first is like. We want to do the fun, sexy thing to put our money towards the growth, but really we have to build the foundation first. Number 8, we talked about it a little bit, but building that full emergency fund. What you'll see online is if you were to type in, hey, how much should I put into a full emergency fund? You're going to see a lot of stuff around 3 to 6 months worth of your expenses. And while that's amazing, I think it's going to be different for a lot of people. Everyone has different sort of risk tolerance levels, right? Of like, how safe would I feel, say I lost my job or whatever. So I would use that, say it's kind of up to you. You could use that 3 to 6 as like a good time frame. But if you don't really have much obligations, like maybe you could probably just go on the lower end. Me personally, like, I don't know, having 2 kids, it kind of feels like I would want to build it up a little more if I was starting from zero again in 2026. So that's probably the side that I would lean on, but I would say it's kind of up to you. And I would put this in a high yield savings account. It does generate a little more interest, or a lot more interest, than a regular savings account. Sometimes like a lot, it's just like significantly more. And even if you have no plans to use it or anything like that, it's just going to kind of slowly grow on the side, and you're going to be well off. So this isn't about really investing. It's just about stability. And I like to talk about, there's 4 quadrants of money. There's short-term stability, long-term stability, short-term growth, and long-term growth. Those are the 4 kind of pillars. So right now we're just talking about short-term stability. We need to like lock that up, build that strong enough so that we can, again, be a little more aggressive with our money. Because once we have this, you stop making those desperate financial decisions, right? We've all been there. Number 9, I'd be investing more into skills, right? So instead of rushing maybe to the stock market and getting that 8 to 12% return, I'm investing in myself. Like what, I don't know, certifications or skills or trainings or tools can I buy or get or have that will just instantly increase my income, right? Because at the end of the day, we are the most important asset in our portfolio, we'll say, right? Having a stock of Apple or Tesla or Nvidia, it's not as valuable as you. You're the most important asset. Because if I can increase my income by even just say, I don't know, $20,000, it's way more powerful than a 10% return on $1,000. I think this idea of like passive income, it's kind of over. I kind of hate it because I think most people should be trying to increase their active income instead of like their passive income. Like do more things so that you can be rewarded for it financially. And then down the line, we could talk about the Warren Buffett stuff and being a little more passive, right? Your income is your biggest asset early on, your income and your skills. Number 10, this is where we start investing consistently. Now we build wealth. So we do like I would do a simple approach with index funds and consistently investing and, setting up auto investing. So it just comes out. I'm paying myself first. By the way, this is what I've done on my journey for the last like almost 10 years to be able to get to where I'm at. So I would just continue to do that. I would just start over. That's just a skill that I've had, and I've just continued to do that. Nothing fancy. I don't know about what the best stocks are. I don't know anything about markets. I just buy into the market itself, and it has spoken for itself up until this point, right? Of course, it's always a risk, but who knows? The goal is just simple, turning income into assets and then turning assets into freedom. So if I had to start over from $0 in 2026, that was exactly what I would do. And if you actually follow this, you will literally not have the same financial position in 12 months from now. It's not even close. You'll be so shocked with what you can actually do in 12 months, because there was this quote, I think it's attributed to Bill Gates. So everyone overestimates what they can do in 1, underestimates what they can do in 10. It's very powerful. Check out the 6-week 1K money challenge below this video or right here if you want to jumpstart your finances this year.